I would ask you, like, do you trust Megyn Kelly? Do you trust Anderson Cooper? Do you not have a problem with the Pope covering up 3,000 pedophile priests in Penn State? We're not talking about, I mean, look, that guy should have called 911. He should have sent his private army over there. But no, it's because that's not his job. The church isn't there to teach us morality. The church isn't there to show us how to live a better life. The church is just a primitive form of governance. Theocracy is just an older version of what we have now, which is still pretty much a de facto theocracy. State-olatry, a secular humanistic religion disguised as a scientific, rationalistic, reductionist, reality-based worldview. Like, yeah, these are the facts. We've eliminated the myths. We got rid of the stories and the superstitions and the boogeymen. Nope. That's what they'd have you believe, but the truth is, no, they gave you a new creation myth. They give you new eschatologies. They give you new myths, new demons, new boogeymen, new scenarios to scare you with, new fictions. Your reality, if you're a mainstream media fundamentalist, is as filled with fictions as people who literally believe in the Bible or people who literally believe in the Quran. And the most dishonest people I have met in this flat earth conversation are the biblical literalists. They're so dishonest. Not only are they idolaters, they're idol worshippers, the book is their idol, but they say, oh, I'm a biblical literalist, which means that the Bible is the inerrant word of God. Well, then how do you take bits and pieces out of the book of Enoch when it suits your ends? You can't take books from the Apocrypha, you can't take non-canonical texts and add them to your Bible to formulate your worldview. And you can't use science to debunk the other side and then replace what he posited with your beliefs. That's scientism. We got a guy who wrote a book about scientism who used scientism to prove enclosed creationism. The hypocrisy is off the charts here. Okay, this is an article. This is just a snippet from an article. I had to read this here really quick. It was part of the destruction of this neo-Gnostic Reformation. We have all these people like us who are waking up to the fact that we don't know 99% of the shit we thought we knew. This isn't like anything more than us being honest. We're being honest. Like I used to think that I had all the answers or I could defer to the experts who had those answers. Oh, sure. Yeah, there's 7 planets 36.1 trillion light years away. And these planets all live within the Goldilocks zone. They have water and they probably have life. But they're 39 trillion light years away. So how do we get there? Well, let me just ask Neil deGrasse Tyson. Hey, Neil, how do we get to the TRAPPIST system if I want to take a vacation? He's like, oh, just get in a wormhole. Oh, there you go, wormhole. Problem solved. If we run out of resources here, we run out of minerals or water, well, there's infinite abundance in space. Okay, now infinite abundance in space. You know where we've heard that before? Because they're repackaging old heavens. They're repackaging old paradises. Okay, so infinite abundance in space is heaven is paved with gold, the pearly gates. Read about just how opulent the heavens are. Vatican City, the Pope with all his bling bling. That's all to convey to you that, yeah, the wealth is stored up in heaven if you just trust our priesthood. Well, look what they're selling people now with space junk reclamation, with mining ore. Oh, yeah, we got a 16-mile diameter hunk of nickel called Psyche. We're going to drag it into a geostationary orbit, and we'll be mining that sucker for the next 150 years. Infinite abundance in space if you just trust the guy with the obelisk, the rocket man. So, here we are asking questions about the new heaven, the heaven of the new world order, which is just the old world order with new makeup, new trappings. They replaced the Pope with the astronaut. That's the only thing that's changed. The nomenclature has changed. Original sin is your carbon footprint. Angels become satellites. Obelisks become rockets. Your high priests become astronauts. I mean, we know how this thing works. And so we're deconstructing it. And I don't need to have explanations right now because there's not enough information to come to conclusions. So it's like you have all these preachers, you got these guys, oh, it's my book you can trust. You don't have your answers? Well, trust me, I got the book. You got these Bible salesmen, Dianetic salesmen, space program salesmen, all pitching complete models when none of us have one. And so now, a group of us, we're having this new reformation, a rediscovery of the scientific method, uncorrupted by centuries of bullshit, centuries of fake science, scientism, ideology disguised as science. And the first thing that happens is the most public face in this movement says that he's at war with science. That the most public figures in this movement reject science and replace it with religion. There is a religious agenda here. And they soft sell it with Sargent, but listen to this. And this is from an article reviewing one of the conferences. And this is important because this is the deconstruction of free thinkers. You know, they don't want free thinkers to organize. And so you get free thinkers, so you put this guy in front. And listen to this. Sargent is a self-described conspiracy guy. He was deeply skeptical about flat Earth at first, but became a convert when is unable to debunk it. A convert? Like, I'm not a flat earther, nor are you. You're not converts to anything. What happened is you were born in a system where your perceptions were augmented by a belief system, and you rejected that belief system. So you're not a flat earther, you're just an earther. They are the spinning ballers. So you reject the spinning ball thing, you become a perceiver again, and now they're trying to throw you in with, oh, well, now you're a flat earther. Another model, controlled opposition. This is you being shepherded. You got these shepherds placed out there to get the lost sheep. And here's what he says. He says he's prepared to question anything. He says, quote, I can't even shoot down conspiracies at first glance. If I start my day with flat earth, how can I? You can literally come to me and say, I know a guy who swears that Elvis had Bigfoot's baby. And I'll be like, give me a minute. Yeah, what have you got? Because I cannot in good conscience say it's crazy out of the gate. So they want to make it look like if you lose all your discrimination, you cease being critical, you accept everything first. In other words, auto-believing. You just automatically believe it. Well, then that would explain how you could come to such a wild belief. So it wasn't because you disarticulated a very complex mind control system that was here before you were born. No, it's because you're a dumb shit. I can't in good conscience say it's crazy out of the gate. Yes, you can. If you had a conscience, you would. If you have a conscience, you will call out fake and lies when you see it. I see a fake school shooting. I can't say, well, let me give them the benefit of the doubt, because after all, it's totally plausible that Elvis had Bigfoot's baby. So this is why it's important not to have leaders. And this goes back to my point raised by the editor of Reddit, who's been a serial harasser of mine for 18 months and has made zero progress except to serve as an example for the rest of us, to illustrate certain points. If you have a leader, they will take that leader down. If they control the leader, they will be a puppet. So it looks like somebody's being a puppet, if you ask me. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like somebody is being puppeteered in order to make those of us who have strayed too far look crazy. Sabotage. It's sabotage. And it's not a new thing. I mean, this is something that you see. Look, people who don't get it, when we're talking about fake events, people who don't get it, maybe it's too much for them to think that there could be that level of coordination between various agencies and so many sellouts to actually make something happen. Yeah, that's a good argument against looking into some of these bigger deceptions. But what about this? Look up race hoaxes. There are smaller deceptions that are being played out on us every single day. Every day. That are worth looking into. Like, so for example, standard operating procedure, David Axelrod used to do this thing where you would have Republicans gathered somewhere and they would send Democrats dressed up as Klansmen to photobomb, just to get in the background, to be there. They'll send Nazis to right-wing events and they'll be conspicuously hailing, Hitler. They do these things on purpose. It's sabotage. And we're being sabotaged right now, if you ask me. Okay, so racial hoaxes. And so this is just commonplace. Let's look at university. Okay, hate crimes and hoaxes. 10 campus stories debunked. All it took was one misplaced item and the entire campus went into a racial uproar. Where hate meets hoaxes. Racial hoaxes deserve the same criticism as actual racism. Now, the thing about racial hoaxes that are most important is that, like, so for example, somebody will spray paint a swastika on a synagogue. Well, it turns out it was done by the rabbi. There's so many different permutations of these things. Black Lives Matter would have conferences at universities and they'd get bomb threats, and it turns out that the person giving the speech actually called in the bomb threat. So these things are not new. Now, the reason they're worth looking at here, though, is that there are so many of them. But although the mainstream media will report on them, they rarely report on the corrections. Or if they do a correction, or they do report on, oh, it was just a hoax, they do it after the lynch mobs have already gathered. They do it after the riots have already occurred. They do it after the damage has already been done. Racist graffiti on car near K-State was a hoax. You see? So if you assume they're all real, for those of you who don't understand why we have this dichotomy, auto-hoax and auto-believer, and there are a lot of people who don't get it, which is why they're not here. If you automatically assume these things to be true, well, then you live in a violent, racist, divided, dangerous place. Your college universities are dangerous. There's just festering hate, bigotry, racism, anti-Semitism. It's a cauldron, it's a boiling pot, it's ready to blow. And it's just a microcosm of the world. And so then you get educated in a certain way, indoctrinated a certain way, and then you become someone who agrees with CNN. The truth is, these things are all hoaxed to create division. These are here to create the racism that they warn you about. It's instigation, agitation. This is how they roll. So if you spend a few days looking at all of these, then you hear about the school shooting thing. You're like, well, it's the same people, same agenda, just different script. And these ones are actually worse because they go under the radar. I mean, how many other shootings where there aren't high casualty rates that don't get national media attention are also faked? So if you want to be a reality perceiver, if you don't want to have augmentations, as we all have, we've been purging ourselves of augmentations, de-articulating, deconstructing them. If you want to live in truth, you have to literally trust yourself first and recognize that these institutions that are here to deceive you cannot be trusted, and just recognize that, yeah, they're lying to you. Just assume it. Assume that preacher is lying when he says he knows the will of God. Assume that pundit is lying when they tell you what's going on in the world. And then figure it out for yourself. And if we all do that, the need for the priest class will dissipate. It'll go away. Okay, I'm going to try to get a hold of Chris Pontius. He has some news regarding his projects. I'll be right back.
I be piffin' all day. I be piffin' all day. I be piffin' all day. Piff, piff, fast, motherfucker. Smoke weed, smoke weed, smoke weed, smoke weed, smoke weed, smoke weed. Piff, piff, fast, motherfucker. Let me smoke my weed. Let me smoke my weed. Let me smoke my weed. Let me smoke my, let me smoke my, let me smoke my weed. Let me smoke my weed. Let me smoke my weed. Let me smoke my, let me smoke my. I be piffin' all day. I be piffin' all day. I be piffin' all day. Piff, piff, fast, motherfucker. I be piffin' all day. I be piffin' all day. I be piffin' all day.